Hello, everyone. Glad you're able to join us tonight. We'll be talking about the Murdaugh homicides in South Carolina, and I appreciate everyone for being here tonight with us. And a little bit of housekeeping, like we always do. If you're new to this channel, have respect for families, mods, and each other, and enjoy your time in chat. And as we if anyone has any questions, that will come at the end of the presentation, and we'll go from there. And so, you ready? As always, a little brief introduction for, like I said, the people that may be visiting for the first time. This is Mrs. Steve, and I'm Steve. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. Started my career off working in the jail, went on the road, and then into investigations. During those 20 years, I had all different types of training, from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician, and have investigated all different types of crimes, from thefts, burglaries to homicides. And when I retired, I found the true crime world and decided to become, as I could, a ambassador for law enforcement, and trying to assist people in looking at how law enforcement looks at these cases. And we've expanded as our channel grows. And I thank everyone that visits and views and joins and subscribes, and our members especially, for allowing us to go out and to expand into working cold cases and assisting these families that have lost loved ones. And we have some news that will be upcoming in the next few weeks about that. We're working on, and so we're finalizing some paperwork and signature, and we're on our trust fund and our nonprofit. But anyway, so with that, going in that there. It's spinning every now and then. Last night we were having some internet issues. Hopefully it will not continue tonight, but if it does, just let us know. But we're going to be looking at the Murdaugh homicides that occurred in South Carolina, with Alex Murdaugh being accused of killing his son and his wife in June the 7th of 2021. And it's a tragedy. It's a story that that is absolutely heartbreaking, with the videos that are out there that were Snapchat videos that Alex's son put online that night, or uploaded. And you see a family that's just going about their day, not expecting anything to occur. We have images. These were taken at two different times. Of course, we also have the law enforcement video. But the image on the left is where Alex and his son Paul, about an hour or so before the homicides, they were spending time together out in the field, and you can hear Paul laughing, enjoying his day with his father, not knowing what was going to occur within an hour or so. And the interesting thing about this image here is that, as you can see on the image on the right, that's taken from the law enforcement video with the white t-shirt, that from the time that the video on the left where he's wearing the blue shirt out in the field, late in the afternoon, like I said, about an hour or so before the homicides when it was uploaded, and something occurred between then and the time that he calls 911, and there's a change of clothing. Has law enforcement been able to locate this clothing, and will that come into the trial? We currently have no idea if this any of this clothing that he's wearing has been recovered, and I find it extremely interesting that when they went to the residence, which it was a extended time frame before they actually went to Alex's residence and did a search warrant of that residence, and giving the opportunity of them to be able to go at and look at some of his clothing to see if there's any possibility of matching any type of DNA or any other type of evidence. And the trial, as it moves forward, I think today is like day 9. And it's been kind of rocky as they've moved forward. And you saw the law enforcement and the prosecution laying out how law enforcement had looked at this case and moved through it, and who all was brought into the as assisting agencies, and it was eventually turned over to the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED, for them to handle the investigation. And they've had some experts in there this week, and up until yesterday and today, the prosecution was having a hard time of it. But the last 2 days, I have to give it to them that they have turned it and going in the right direction, if to show that they have the individual in question that they have charged with this, that's correct, and that he is responsible for those homicides. And if that is the case, and they've started building that case, like I said, the first couple 3 days or days preceding this with their experts, it wasn't looking good for the prosecution. But the last 2 days, it has turned around, and generally that's what you will find in any type of prosecution. And because whenever you go into court and that jury selected, they have no knowledge of the case, and they presume that the offender is innocent, and that's the way it's supposed to be. And so the offender is always uphill, and the prosecution has to fight and overcome that hill of and prove without a reasonable doubt that that is the offender that committed these crimes. And so that's where they've gone with this. And as they move forward, and what type of evidence do they have? It's very limited right now that we know of. You have the homicide, which is at the top where the dog kennels were. Is about 1,100 feet plus from that kennel to the residence where Alex said that he was taking a nap during the homicides. And of course, we find out that Paul made a Snapchat video for his friend Alex, who he was taking care of a dog for, and on that video, you can hear Alex is heard in the background talking. So, of course, law enforcement at this time realizes, and they have great evidence that all the misleading statements that Alex has made, he has created a falsehood of where he was at during a certain time. And how would the defense overcome this? We don't know. And in our morning show this morning, a great question came up about the motive. And we, could only speculate of what the motive and that would cause an individual to commit such a crime. Today, the prosecution made great headway of showing why and what possibly could put an individual over the edge, and they were able to do that. This here is Jean Seckinger. She's the chief financial officer for the law firm that Alex is part of. And on the very day of these homicides, she had went to speak with him about some missing funds. Just one part of the missing funds is $792,000 that she was in questioning of, but there's far more that she was able to relay and speak about in court today. And it was absolutely, she is a great expert. She had vast knowledge of the financials of that company, as she should, because she's in a position that would know that about the billing and where the monies are. And she laid out information of what Alex was doing, even to the point that Alex had created a false annuity company of that these law firms, when they have settlements and things and they're working with their clients, there's a certain industry, and the name of the annuity they were using was Forge. And of course, what does Alex do other than go and create another account using that same name and able to um, channel funds into the account that he has power over, and manipulate and of course takes vast amounts of money. And all that money now is currently missing, and they don't know where all the money is. And after the homicides, Alex took a trip to the Bahamas. Now, does that mean the money's in the Bahamas?
Yeah.
Mrs. Steve, she, when I asked her that, and she said, has he taken a trip out of the country? And I said, yes. And so instantly she said, that's where it's at. And all speculation, of course. But the money has to be somewhere. And where would it be? Either he buried it, it's in someone's or another properties that no one is currently aware of, or it's out of the country. And this witness, they was having a certain type of hearing today, 403 and 404, which means bringing in another type of evidence into the courtroom. I'm no attorney, but from what I saw today, for them to have this hearing, it was to be able to introduce something from a source that they originally did not realize that they was going to be able to get in. And the reason they're able to get it in is due to, let's see here, where is that one? Didn't take it. I had another slide, whereas the defense attorneys had asked a question of one of the prosecution's witnesses, and asked them, is there any reason that you could think of why Alex would commit these crimes? And that opened the door for the prosecution to be able to approach and look at bringing in a motive that would be the financial. And that was what the hearings are around today and will be in the future. Because like I said, from listening to the courts and seeing how they're talking about what doors have been opened and what type of character Alex is, and what does his character tell about himself and why he might possibly commit these crimes. And one of the possibilities, of course, is that it's just for money. And then there was rumors about there might be some marital issues, which I can see where you could jump to that conclusion. And of course, I don't know how all wealthy people live, of course, but anytime that you have a wife that you're separated and you're living in different homes, that there is that possibility that there may be some type of frictions or something coming, such as maybe a divorce, some type of separation. Don't know that, but it's been alluded to that possibly is one of the things. And of course, divorces and things, some people, especially when it comes to having to divide up fortunes, that has often led to certain crimes being committed, such as homicides. And is that one of the contributing factors that led to this? Don't know, because we have not only the possibility of that, but we do know that there's a boating accident that Alex's son, Paul, was involved in, and it was multi-million-dollar, and it was coming up for trial. And then you have where this lady, the chief financial officer, Seconder, confronts him on that day, and we have such a perfect storm of situations that we have an individual that might be facing not only marital issues, the lawsuit from the boating accident, and being caught in the act of all these financial crimes, because he has like 90 something indictments of fraud and scamming and all this that he's going to be facing regardless of what happens to this homicide. And so if the prosecution is able to get that in, then of course they will say that it's the financial storm that has pushed him to the, and that would be the motive. Now, if the jury buys that or not, we don't know, but it is a possibility because, like I say, over the years you often see that. But there was another weird thing that happened with this case, whereas Alex hired a hitman that failed to complete his task, and so another theory for the prosecutors was that he was going to stage his attempt on his own life to secure a $10 million life insurance for his surviving son, Buster, and which once again is another twist and turn to a story of just one tragedy after another of what type of person would do this. And the night of the homicides, if this is an individual that would hire someone, and there's certain things about certain individuals out there that they wish to inflict self-harm, and when it gets to it, they don't have the courage or what mental instabilities that they will harm themselves. They just don't. And so was that the case of the night of the double homicide? Don't know. But then he made that step to have someone else commit it. And that you can see some of that self-harm in law enforcement that occurs when people do that and force law enforcement to complete a task that they won't do for whatever reason. And absolutely terrible situation to be in. And people that are in that condition, and if you know anyone of that condition, of course, make sure they seek the proper help in any way that you can, for the fact that there are individuals out there. But this individual here, is that his motive, the financial, the perfect storm, everything collapsing? And that's the way it appears to be. And the motive isn't necessary for a conviction, but it's great to have when you have such a situation as what this is, because they really don't have any DNA evidence linking Alex as far as committing the homicides, and they don't have any other idea, and it's still open. We have a double homicides that were committed, and you have 2 different types of weapon and at least 3 different types of ammo. You had the shotgun that had 2 types of ammo within it, and then you had another firearm that was used of a rifle round. And so you have at least 2 weapons and 3 different types of ammo. And when I say with the shotgun, different types, you had one type of ammo that's buckshot, and then you had another round that was a birdshot. Same gauge ammo, but it is something that is used for different purposes. And we'll have some testing that's coming out on that to show y'all in the coming days. And but it's absolutely one of the that every time you question yourself about where is it going, there's something brought in that is not anticipated, and where will it end? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of this case. All right. With that being said, do we have anything out there?
You don't have any questions.
All right. Let's go through whatever they got.
All righty. All right, let's go back here. All right, let's see here.
Who's all in there? We got Molly, Olivia. Hello.
We got Lynn, Jackie B, Cami, Elena. This'll do nicely.
This'll do nicely.
Jill Mosier.
I think it was This'll. It fell asleep.
How do I say that one?
Which one's that?
Oh
God, unabashedly.
That one.
Unabashedly Karen.
Okay.
I think that's how she said it there.
All right. Lee is here. Mary Callahan, Triple S, Josh the Posh.
But now some of the evidence that we haven't gotten to yet that will be coming out and what brought me so much interest into this case was when they were talking about the expert and about the physical evidence of the unspent rounds and some of the ammo that was found at the scene of the crime, which spent rounds, but they found some other rounds that had been cycled through a gun that matches from a gun range on the property that matches the gun that was used in the homicides. And that type of evidence is absolutely something that will be coming up in the Delphi homicide case as it against Richard Allen as it moves forward. And so I'm looking forward to seeing everything that's brought up about that.
All right, and Jackie B, I had not seen these pics. Very interesting. The double pics with him in a blue shirt and wait, that one there.
And if they have that clothing, and I'm going to be doing some testing with clothing again. I know a lot of
we're going to run out of clothing, just so y'all know.
But some of the testing that we have coming up involving clothing, and I know a lot of y'all appreciate the forensic parts of it, and it's just been raining so bad for the last 3 or 4 days. I haven't been able to do it, and we have a break in the storm tomorrow, and so I've got a full day of testing tomorrow, and then I've got some more luminol tests that will be coming up, and we'll see where it goes and how it works, because this is something that I haven't tried before, and I'm looking forward to seeing if it'll work. For the fact that prior to this, whenever we had our training, and you're out there back in the older days of going through schools and things, we were having to use a certain type of animal blood. Now we have synthetic blood, and so now that I'm getting the opportunities to work with it, I'm going to see if it works the same way as the real thing, and with clothing and some things that I think y'all will find extremely interesting. And we should have some of that out. I talked to Chris today, and some of that may be out Saturday, Sunday, Monday, because it's going to take several days of testing and compiling the information.
All right, unabashedly, I think he knew Maggie would leave him, and his spare was damaged goods, so he shot them in his skivvies at kennel, cleaned up, and went to mom for alibi.
Very possible, and it appears to be that may very well be the case. Or he wore this clothing, and possibly that's why there's so much water there. He had to wash himself off. We just don't know. And I was looking at some of the trajectory information today, trying to make sense of it. Had a great conversation with a couple individuals about that, and have a far greater understanding of what may have occurred. And I'll be verifying that through my testing in the next day or so.
Okay. And Molly. AM has a very distinctive voice. That's pretty good evidence.
Well, when you have individuals that's sitting there that's known him since their whole lives, and they say that's him and that's his voice, and that, you have to take it for what it's worth, and that jury is making note of that. The jury may never hear him speak anything, and so they will only have to go with what they hear from the witnesses, and we'll just have to see where that goes with the court, because like I said, I don't know if they've had any type of voice recordings, or will they bring in any type of voice analysis, which is something that may come out even with the Delphi case, exactly along that, because they may never, as we hear in both of these, the parallels of this case, with in the background, we have someone who's reported to be Alex speaking, And in the background of the Delphi, we have individuals reported to be Richard Allen speaking, and what type of voice analysis and how will they say, yes, that's him, and will they just bring in people that know him and say, yes, that's his voice. And when it comes to Richard Allen, the Delphi, will they do the exact same thing? That will be interesting to see how they approach those issues.
All right, let me get that right there. And Molly. Okay. And Erna, I know Alex is a bad businessman and lawyer, but I can't wrap my head around anyone killing their family over money.
It is, but it's happened time and time again.
It's
It's absolutely unbelievable that such atrocities can occur just over greed. And I was amazed at how much money could be made in this type of work that they were doing in a law firm in that part of the country. Absolutely amazing how much he made a year, but it wasn't enough, and makes no sense to us.
all right. And Jackie B, I didn't know about the missing money. AM sure has a lot of crazy stuff going on.
Yes, and we're not talking just about this. I mean, it's millions of dollars that this the law firm had to go back and put up for some of the other his shenanigans of how he cheated other people out of their monies, and it's just unreal.
That's crazy.
It is.
Okay, let's see here. All right. Ooh, all caught up. Perfect. All right. And Anne, unfortunately, I'm feeling a hung jury. Just takes one. And case is so murky as to motive. No weapons means, although state did hit lottery with a Snapchat audio placing him at scene opportunity.
You're right. But there's still a long way to go. Like I said, we're on day 9. And of those days, I think this is about 5 or 6 days of testimony, and and just now the prosecution is getting a footing, and if they can get this chief financial officer's testimony in there, you see, the jury currently doesn't know of this information. If they can get it in there, which it appears they will, then of course that's is going to be huge, because like I say, while motive's not necessary, juries like to have some type of reasoning of basing something on, rather than, no, I have no idea why he did it. And people just don't like to do convictions on, I have no idea. They want to have some type of basis before you potentially put a man in prison for the rest of his life, or on the death penalty, or any type of.
All right. WL22, I hope the separation / plan to divorce comes out from witnesses in trial.
It's been alluded to. Is that the case? Like I said, some of the messages and friends and that I spoke, that she was says that there was something strange going on. Maggie was saying, and but then again, Alex's father was in the final stages of his life, and of course, who doesn't have compassion anytime anyone faces that? Even the chief financial officer, that was the reason today that she stated that when she confronted him on the day of these homicides, just hours prior, that he took a phone call, and she learned of how grave the condition was for his father, and she backed away from that and embraced him as a friend, and that they could look into this further at a later date. The important thing was to take care of family, and that's just the way that it should be and has been, and I have to admire the whole financial officers' attitude towards that they would, that she did decide that that's the course that she wanted to take, and that's what she took. You have to admire her for that.
And Mr. Steve, did you have cases where you had great convicting evidence, but judge wouldn't let it in?
Oh yes, you never know. You never know what a judge will do, and
Nor a jury.
no. But anytime you get slapped down by a judge when you're in the middle of trying to get something out, and you misspeak or something, and you can feel the change in the environment when a judge is not going favorable towards the prosecution, and you see it. It's not just on my cases, but you could see sometimes that when the court doesn't approve of certain methods that were taken and certain ways that cases were handled, and they let you know about it. I made a mistake one time. I had failed to button my top button of my shirt with my tie on, and the judge took offense to that. You just never know. And but after a short chamber meeting after trial, I fixed that.
I bet. All right. And single mama 4. I didn't understand the 403 or 404.
Evidently, it's when a door is opened to another possibility of new evidence being brought in. That's just my basic understanding of it. I didn't know it either, but I see that's what they're trying to do. Is the judge says that whatever the findings will be, and that if you don't have certain hearings and understand all of the information clearly and have convincing evidence that's relevant, then it's a reason for appeals by the defense. And so we have these hearings, and so we'll see where it goes.
All right. And Molly at True Crime Web, what did you think of how the witness stared hard at AM? Who stared back during the Snapchat testimony? If looks could kill, witness looked like he was about to jump up and get AM.
Yes, and now not only just Snapchat, but the chief financial officer today, same way. Some of these people, you have best friend to Paul, and it never occurred to him that the father of his best friend could ever commit such a crime, and the realization of that, and you see it weighed upon him, and he's absolutely a strong-willed individual, and he'll have to live with this knowledge that two people that he trusted, one was a dear, dear friend that has never done him wrong, that was taking care of his dog for him, is possibly the victim of a man that he respected and loved throughout his life, and now has killed his best friend. And so you can see where that could be extremely emotional.
All right. And we've got an explanation here from Triple S.
Mhm.
404 is about character, prior bad acts being inadmissible unless otherwise warranted. 403 is ruling inadmissible evidence that is more prejudice than probative.
Yes,
Okay.
and that's what I was talking about, that certain evidence that couldn't have been brought in unless it had been some reason to bring this stuff in, and they're testing the value of that. But some of the character, the character stuff couldn't have been brought in unless that door was opened by the defense asking that question. Could you imagine any reason? And that's what brought in the 404 and 403 stuff. And so that's why we're there. And thank you for Triple S for bringing in the judicial. I forgot to make a slide of that. I wish I had.
Yep.
I need you to help me sometimes.
And Dave says Steve has ties. Oh, I could bring you a bunch of ties.
I have power ties.
Power ties. And you know who picked those out, Dave, right? Just saying. Did you ever buy a tie?
Yes.
No. Yep. Tom, one thought I had is maybe somebody was extorting him. He had an opioid addiction.
And that's possible. Absolutely. I mean, but did that lead to all of his issues? Don't know. But I could see where someone could possibly be doing that. But regardless of what that is, there's outs for him other than committing such a crime. And but yes, that could have been one of the things that drove him into such a financial bind, among other things, not just drugs. There's a lot of things individuals can do that can cause extortions.
And unabashedly, Alex, a lawyer, knew lots about criminal gangs, so he knew to use different ammo for reasonable doubt and attack CSI techniques.
Very possible. I mean, it is something strange. I can't, I
Did
thought
he
of,
have a range on his property too?
yes, that's where they
Okay,
got some of the spent rounds and
Okay.
unspent rounds. That matched the guns
So he
from the homicide.
knows.
And but yeah, that's just something that it just drives me crazy. That for the transition, why would you have those two weapons other than trying to bring in the fact that it was 2 versus 1? And then, of course, he hires somebody to cause self-harm to him. Now, did he hire someone to cause harm to Paul and Maggie? It's very possible. We just don't know currently.
And Jeff F., I think the prosecution let the defense hang themselves at the beginning of this trial. Now the prosecution is putting some good things out there.
I agree. Like I said, I was worried now, and I'm still worried about some of that. And I'm worried about the blood expert and if they're going, what they're going to get in and how they're going to get it in, and what does the testimony about that blood spatter say. I've looked at that blood spatter for several days and been working on it.
I can vouch for that.
Been working on it, and you'll see the results of some of that stuff, and probably by Monday at least.
So Dave is going to follow that up with Steve's going to blow stuff up.
Yes.
I think he knows you.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the only way that you can go in and do these tests to see and try to match the what limited. We don't have a lot of crime scene photos. We do have some, and reverse engineering them tells me a lot, and also with trajectory. And one thing that's consistent throughout nature is gravity, and certain things occur. And with blood spatter and blood pattern analysis, every blood drop tells a story, regardless of the size. It can be something that's almost microscopic, all the way up to a full single blood drop. It all means something to individuals that's had the training and can look at that drop and tell you what occurred. And that's what I've been looking at, of what limited I could see. And there is a story there.
And Molly at True Crime Web, with the financial crimes, do those seem to have been more recent, like last 5 years, or something that's been going on for a long time?
The chief financial officer says it's been going on for several years. And actually, the defense attacked the chief financial officer today on that fact that this evidence has been there for years, and you never did anything about it until now, and you didn't discover it. And which of course he won't be able to do that in front of a jury. I mean, he can, but there'll be a great risk at it, because she did well when during her answer back that she never expected it of him at the time, and due to brotherhood and trust of the each of the part of the law firms.
All right, hold on 1 second. I'm looking for something.
Uh-oh. I hope.
Oh, here it is. This one-handed
Josh
thing
Saposh.
is, I'm a little slow.
Mrs. Steve, legit skills to keep up with chat with a cast on. Hope is showing up. Mr. Steve, is there a PC document for this case. I hadn't looked up any of the probable cause affidavits or anything. I need to do that. Thank you. I'll look at that. And thank you for your support.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right, hold on. Got one more thing I'm looking for. Okay, maybe that's it. Okay, I think I did it.
Okay.
All right. Oh, and Josh had asked that question earlier. Okay, and your mama, do we know if Maggie had a life insurance policy?
Right now, everything I've heard in court doesn't indicate that she did, which I find surprising.
That is amazing.
Now, I do find that amazing. Now, there was evidently, from what you read of the prosecution's theory about that he had tried to have that hit for the collection of the life policy on him for his son Buster. So we know he was insured, but I don't know about the others. But I just, in this day and age, who doesn't have insurance on other individuals? You got insurance on me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Since we've been married.
Since we've been married. That's good to know.
You know, we're not going there. All right. So help me, Rhonda. What's with all the rocking back and forth by AM at his trial? I've never seen anything so bizarre. Guilty conscience, I believe.
Some people say it's some type of comforting, especially if some of the witnesses you can see up there, they may do certain things about crossing their arms or almost like embracing themselves. There's a lot of things that people read into certain body language. And there are times that when you look at his facial expressions, that you do see across the spectrum of everything from it appears anger, fright, to that rocking back and forth motion that he does sometimes, which I think there's even certain conditions that can cause that. So I don't know if it's one of those conditions or if it's just something self-comforting.
All right. And I think I'm caught up. Oh my goodness. All right. And Triple S. I think her saying, quote, he's up to something is very, in my opinion, who would know better than his wife of 30 years?
Absolutely. And
you said that.
And
right.
not only that, but what else did she know? And was there certain things that she had knowledge of and or suspected him of and may have confronted him about? And because there's something that had went on that day. Of course, we have the chief financial officer saying this, and he's beginning to see that another part of his life he's losing absolute control of. He's not going to be able. And I look at that woman today when she was testifying, and one of my thoughts was, that is one lucky individual. She's very fortunate that she survived the possibilities of what could happen, and I still worry for her because of the possibilities that are out there. And of course, law enforcement would be considering that and everything, and necessary steps would be taken. But it is something that he realized it's out of my control, and were certain decisions made at that time. And the reason I say that is that he turned his phone off at a certain time that day, and for a reason. Now, if we find through his historical data that he always turned his phone off at that same time to take naps, or was this just something that had occurred, and that he will make the reason that he had been staying with his father at the hospital and was extremely tired and his sleep was off? Absolutely something that you could expect, because when people are in the hospitals and you're rotating off, trying to make sure that you spend what quality time you can with your loved ones as they face those final hours, that that's understandable. And is that part of his loss of sleep? And so he has a reason and explanation that he could explain that away. But what he can't explain away is that if he was going to take a nap, he didn't take the nap. And he's not in the clothes that he was wearing at the time that he was prepping to take the nap. And what conditions are those clothes in? Or did law enforcement find these shirt and pants versus the white t-shirt and shorts that when he calls 911 a few hours later? And so all that has to be answered.
Somewhere in chat, and I don't remember who it was, said something about asking stupid questions.
No.
So there are no stupid questions in our chat.
And I try not
to
ask
away.
Ask away, and I'll try not to give you a stupid question or answer to any type of question. There's not stupid. I mean, the only one that, and I always told us in law enforcement, what is it? The only stupid question is one that you don't ask.
Yeah, I mean.
So if you have a question, ask it. And
somebody else is thinking the same thing. So go ahead.
Yeah.
Come on. There's nothing here that is going to be stupid. We promise. Okay.
Yep.
All right. And Molly, any thoughts about the impact of how influential the Murdaugh family is on how the jurors and their families are being protected from parties with different interests in the outcome?
I understand that, yes, there's going to be a lot of issues that, and why wasn't there a change of venue from such a powerful family in the community? And the defense obviously thinks that it's more positive that he is tried here. They know from what they've been told by their client. They know what the evidence is. They've had the discovery, and they made a choice that they wanted it here. Regardless of which way it goes, they chose it to be there. Now, the individuals that's on that jury, they're not going to be people that have any type of relationship with him. Their families, they don't know, in any county throughout the South or any county you live in, there's certain things that go in that county that you have no knowledge of. And there's certain families you have no knowledge of. And some of these jurors may have heard of the name, but they have no idea or have never had any interactions and have not established any type of feelings towards the case of any of the cases. Because one of the questions that are asked you often is, have you ever, especially in law enforcement, whenever she goes down for jury duty or I go, they ask, have you ever been represented by a certain individual? Have you ever had any type of interactions with law enforcement? And so they weed out those individuals. And when you do find one, sometimes, of course, they just are not able to be on the jury panel. But the individuals on this jury have no type of connections or knowledge of the family of the Murdaugh family.
And I have to share this. Me and Jeff, we are on the same team.
Okay, Jeff.
I ask myself stupid questions daily, then we get in an argument over it. Thank you. I feel that same way. I do it all the time. All right, here we go. All right, and Erna, can they recover those deleted texts from Alex's phone?
I don't know. I have no idea if that's possible or not. But with the technologies that are out there, I wouldn't be surprised that it's somewhere, because he sent those texts to somebody, and so it would take two parts to delete it all, I believe. I don't know. I'm not into the digital evidence, but some of those experts would absolutely be able to tell.
All right, and Jeff, another thing that raises questions. Both firearms used to commit this, they have in their collection along with the ammo.
Yes, and I understand that. And but then again, in that county and among other families, there was a time that the 300 blackout was a very rare, because it's been around now, I think about 13, I think it came out somewhere around 2009 or something. And 2010, somewhere in there. It's been around a few years when it was developed. And now it's common. There's a lot of people shoot a 300 blackout. And then, of course, 12 gauge shotgun in the South. I don't know if you probably can't walk to 2 or 3 different residences in any area, and that at least one residence out of 2 or 3 would have a 12 gauge shotgun. May not be of the same manufacturer, but they would have a 12 gauge shotgun, almost guaranteed, or at least this part of the country where I'm from. And I would imagine in South Carolina, it's probably about the same.
And Mr. Steve, if there's a hung jury, do you think the state will retry? I think so.
I don't know, but yes, I would. I think that they would look at and see if there's any way, and where did they make the missteps. And if there's any way to get around those missteps, yes, I would agree they would try to.
And Molly, if he hired a hitman, AM would still be guilty of murder, right? However, the charge would be different. I don't know.
I don't know if they would be able to or not. He has a specific charge of committing the crime, the homicides. I don't know if that includes, because sometimes in certain cases, it has lesser included offenses. And I don't know if hiring is a lesser included offense in the state of South Carolina. That's a great question.
There you go. Homework. Okay, and Jeff, I think they should have checked AM out for bruises, shoulder or hip shotguns. We all know can leave bruises.
It can.
Don't we know?
Yeah, and especially, I think they mentioned 3.5 inch shot shells, which are absolutely in the 12 gauge world in a new dimension, 3.5 inch.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay. And Molly, has Buster made any statements of support for his father? Is he going to the trial? I think I saw him once, but I haven't watched a lot of it.
I think today was the first day, maybe even yesterday, but all last week he was there sitting 2 or 3 rows back behind his father. And I didn't see him today. Although I don't get to watch a lot of it, I check on it and then I go out and do my other things and then I come back. But I didn't see him there today, and which is odd sometimes because he's on the witness list, and you have to have certain exclusions to sit in the courtroom if you're on a witness list.
All right, and Triple S. When this all went down, law enforcement believed he had an airtight alibi. It wasn't until after some investigation that they came to the conclusion that he did it. Yes,
and they've got I don't know what established his airtight alibi to start with. Is it just his reputation or what? And but it's moved. Now we see it's not so, and we starting to see what motive is. If they didn't have these financial crimes that are sitting in the background, and there's nothing says that he could be the worst human in the world with all these other crimes, doesn't mean that he's committed these crimes. And you have to be careful just because someone is a scammer, a fraud, and takes people's monies, doesn't mean that he committed these homicides. It's a separate issue. And but it does bring up his question of character, and so they're trying to get that in there, and it may have the impact on a jury.
And Lynn, Alex was indictment from a grand jury, no PC.
Even with indictments and stuff, but for the search warrants and things, there's a lot of different types of probable cause, not just for arrest affidavits and things. It can also be for the search warrants and things. And I don't know which way he was talking about earlier, which one of the probable cause affidavits. I was taking it for any of them, because the search warrants most certainly will have probable cause affidavits, the search warrant being signed, and then have the returns.
And Kia, I've only recently started following this case, and in some of my research, I've seen speculation that Buster could have been involved. Is there any evidence to indicate his involvement in any way?
Not that I know of. Currently, I have seen some of those rumors and things, and we have to be so careful when you start doing some of these theories, for the fact that if law enforcement has cleared him, because he'll have to live with that stigma the rest of his life if people start throwing him under the bus.
Bless his heart. And Deborah Young, great to see you. I love it when you pop in here. And Joan, if he can't produce the shirt from the video, can they introduce that?
Yes. I mean, it does bring up a great question. This is what you was wearing at, I think, 7 something. And this is what you're wearing 4 hours later. And what explanation will he have? I mean, it could be a lot of different reasons, but if he doesn't take the stand, that explanation would never be known, and it would be left up to speculation by the jury.
And your mama, the videos that were uploaded to Snapchat, could they have been from earlier and then posted to Snapchat later?
I believe I heard the experts talking about that through the metadata. They could tell when the videos were made and then when they were uploaded, and it was just a few minutes. And so that took care of that it wasn't from days before, but it was within a certain time frame. Now, that was my understanding of what I heard today.
And Dwayne's prospecting adventures, where I'm at, it's probably more like 5 out of 6 has a 12 gauge. I've got several.
You're absolutely correct. And
what do I mean? You got,
yeah,
I don't even want to know.
Yeah.
All right. And Angel, is voice analysis possible for the voice on the Snapchat?
And that, like I said, that's something with the Delphi case that we were looking at and thinking about. And now we have it in this case. And will they bring in that? I have no idea. I don't know who's on that witness list. I hadn't looked at it. What type of experts? Or will they just rely upon the people that know him and say, yes, that's him, which is strong in and of itself, for the fact that the Rogan, who said that he spoke in the same room with Alex, and Alex had been telling everyone that he was asleep and had been laying that groundwork that he wasn't at the kennels. And Rogan stated it in front of him that no, he was on that audio and he could hear him, and that Alex didn't contest that.
All right. And Miss, do you think LR went in soft on Alex?
I don't know. No, I don't think. I think that's supposed to be law enforcement.
Oh.
I'm thinking.
LR, that's what it said.
I know. Yeah, but I think they just don't know.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about law enforcement, that it didn't take them long to call in SLED. So I don't believe they went in. They knew that there would be some type of conflict of interest.
Okay. And we have Barry, member for 4 months. Thank you so much.
Appreciate your support. That's awesome. That means a lot for us.
And SB 74, what do you think about not searching his mom's house or the areas between?
It is extremely something that I don't quite understand, but I don't know what evidence and I don't know what avenues they took on early on and which way they were going with this case. That, this individual, you can hear him saying, whatever you need to do, you do, you know, and the defense has brought that up. And could they have, even if they couldn't have gotten the probable cause from a judge, which I think they probably could have, because it doesn't take much to get probable cause for a search warrant, especially when you have a double homicide and you have an individual that discovers them and on his own property, 1,000 feet, 1,100 feet away from his front door while he's on the property. Potentially could have occurred and he not heard the gunshot. And so it's easy to get that probable cause, because he says that either while he's at that residence, the crime occurs, or he drives past and leaves and the crimes occur and he goes to a known residence of a family member. So probable cause, it's not that hard to overcome that. And, but they didn't, and I don't understand why. Barry, super sticker, $5. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much for letting me flip that blue light.
Yeah, what was that dog's name? He told
What
me.
dog?
Barry's dog. We discussed that the other night. We're getting old.
I had to write it down, Barry. Hatcher?
Good then.
Something?
Something
I'm
like
not sure. All right. And you are all caught up.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate everyone coming here tonight. And like I said, I've got a lot of testing. I've been waiting for the weather to break.
He is so excited. He was like a little kid today.
And I've gone to the store for 2 days. We traveled the stores picking up all the stuff that I didn't have, and been doing a lot of things, and looking forward to doing these control tests. And hopefully we'll have some excellent CSI testing that we'll be able to share with you in the coming days. And but I appreciate all the support. If you like this,
wait. LR stands for Detective Laura Rutland.
Okay, all right. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I don't remember what part of the investigation she had. Well, I'll look at that and see. But is that the one that was in the back of the patrol car that patted him on the back when he broke down during the interview? And if that's the case, during the early stages of investigation, sometimes you build bonds and you try to, but you know, some individuals, there's a lot of different ways of training law enforcement used during interviews, what tactics they used, and everything. You can see the mannerisms of who's asking questions, who's good cop, bad cop. And if that's the one that was in the back seat, then that reached up and touched him during one of his breakdowns, was that part of her training to build that trust? I don't know. But anyway.
All right.
But if you like the video, hit the thumbs up. If you share, appreciate it. And absolutely subscribe if you get a chance. And as our channel grows, we've got a lot of stuff that we're moving forward on. And I've got some additional trips I'm about to make. And if I can get Mrs. Steve out of this cast, we'll be going relatively quickly. But thank everybody. Y'all stay safe out there and see y'all soon.
Thanks. Love y'all.